Welcome to the stream. I did wake up feeling completely exhausted today. So I might be a little Glitch McConnell today. Too soon. It's so funny because it was so weird because this morning we were out there drinking our coffee at 7:30 in the morning, and it's like my backyard, I live next to a neighbor who has a massive backyard, so there's shrubbery and stuff like that, and we were sitting out there drinking our coffee, and just out of nowhere this super loud man yelled. It was a loud yell, and it echoed, but that was it. It just he was just huh? And then there was just nothing, and we were just kind of what the fuck is that? I was thinking maybe a gator got him, but then, I think there'd be more screams. I'm thinking he probably just walked and fell down a sinkhole. I have no idea. It was the weirdest thing. There was no sound anywhere. And then that. It was very jarring at 7:30 in the morning. He stepped on a Lego. It seriously was like that, though. It was so strange. If I can live in any fictional setting, what would it be?
The economics of the future is somewhat different. You see, money doesn't exist in the 24th century.
No money? You mean you don't get paid?
The acquisition of wealth is no longer the driving force in our lives. We work to better ourselves and the rest of humanity.
Star Trek. I would live in Star Trek because who wouldn't want to live in a progressive future? No, it was so funny because speaking of Fox News, yesterday when he was hungover as fuck from the wine tasting, we were sitting there drinking our coffee and I was looking at my phone and I read out loud that Meta just signed a contract with Newsmax to blend their AI. Basically their AI will be trained on Newsmax. And I looked over at him after I read this and he was completely sheet white and he was and I was whoa, this shit's bad. And then he got up and ran to the bathroom and projectile puked everywhere. And I'm still questioning whether it was the wine or what I had read to him. Do I support the LGBTQ community? Of course I do. Absolutely. 100%. I mean, first of all, they're not hurting anybody, so I don't even understand what people's qualms are about that. I agree with that. Absolutely. The way a society treats their minorities is a test as to where the society is going to head or end up. That is true. It's good to hear it, that with all the people jumping on the anti-trans right-wing grift, that you're prepared to stand alongside society's chosen scapegoats. I mean, absolutely. I'm 100% an ally. That is crazy. I don't even first of all, if you're alternative and you are anti-trans or anti-gay, you are the biggest poser that's ever existed. I feel like the alternative communities were developed for safe spaces for these people. So to turn around and then scapegoat them as if conservatives are out there. And I'm talking about real conservative, fiscal, button up, very, very conservative people. Trust me, they look at alternative people and they instantly think we're Satan lovers and all. I'm not going to turn around and then go treat somebody else like that. That's crazy. We pride ourselves on being this progressive country. And then, people will look over at the Middle East and be oh, they cover their women and they kill gay people and all stuff. It's okay. And then what do you think is you were trying to do over here?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, we have transgender people in Morocco and throughout the Muslim world. Yes, we leave them alone. We don't use them politically like in the West. Yeah, right. Exactly. And of course, there's trans people all over the world. It's crazy to think that there isn't. This is an American invention or whatever. Right. I mean, it's the same with sex workers and stuff too. How they'll just be oh no, prostitution or sex work of any kind is some kind of, and it's an American thing. It's just funny because it's been everywhere, always, all throughout history from the very beginning. I also feel a bit cringe about recent trends with goth mommies, while most of them are the epitome of straight conservative types. I mean, yeah, I don't know, I think there's always trends. I think that's just a new trend. I think it's kind of crazy because the other day I was walking through the parking lot because I think I was going to the movies, and some kid just shouted "big titty goth mommy"
And I don't know if it was to me because it was that there just so happened to be another Gothic person like walking the opposite way. But it was actually kind of jarring to hear that in real life because it's just kind of like, what? Like, it's just odd to just shout that. But so I guess I kind of see where people are coming from with being so like mad about that stuff. But I also know that it's a trend. It is just a trend. But as far as them being like the epitome of straight conservative types, that's like, I mean, I guess what I would agree with is it's the lack of dedication, because I feel like you just put some black lipstick on, it's not dedicated enough, you know, like you can just take it off and then you could just not be goth just because you wipe off your lipstick. But I still think that being goth is also a mindset, so I don't think people need to look extreme in order to be goth. But I also think if you're going to go around calling yourself goth, you need to put a little bit more dedication into the way that you look. Yeah. But this one too. Sadly, many on the left have bought into the puritanical hysteria regarding sex work and OnlyFans. Yes, that's a huge problem, and it's obviously affecting me greatly because it's just the shadow banning and all this stuff is crazy. And I think it's hilarious when I hear leftist feminists talking the way that they do about OnlyFans and sex work. It's just like, you sound like a fucking incel. You're a feminist and you sound like an incel. It's just like they've just gone full circle. They might as well just agree with men, agree with the people that they hate, right? The incels that they hate. Agree. I think that women are incapable of making their own decisions, and it is liberating to make your own income. Like, I don't, because men always use that, these incels always use that, or the feminists use it, the rad femmes use it, like, oh, it's not empowering. It's like, I think they misunderstand what that means when workers say that it's empowering. The personal freedom is empowering. It's empowering to be able to do this in capitalism, right? To be able to run your own finances and all of this stuff in capitalism. It's extremely empowering to be able to do this, to not answer to a boss and things like that. Like, that's what people mean when they say that. And it's a pretty clear line. And it's like, are you on that side or this side? If you're mostly, you agree that like fascism is the problem, then, you know, you can put the other small things aside until, you know, things get, you eradicate that stuff. I think it's crazy to like start zeroing in on like problems that are like so far off. Like, why are you thinking about that right now? And there's like actual literal fascists. I mean, it's kind of like the same with the goth community. It's like everyone's focused on like fetishization of like goth girls. And also it's like, dude, there's like right-wing fascists in the scene. Why are you worried about goth girls being sexy? That's insane. Exactly. If you're not hurting anyone, who cares if they want to do things like OnlyFans? All the power to them. Do what makes you happy. I agree. Like, I agree completely. If you're not hurting anyone, I just don't understand. But, you know, there's a lot of factors. Obviously, there's jealousy. There is like the moral police, puritanical shit. And that's definitely getting a huge comeback. I don't understand what it will take for conservatives and MAGA to like wake up to the fact that they're lying. They're not doing anything that they're saying. In fact, they're starting wars and all kinds of bullshit, building data centers in people's backyards. Who knows if it'll be your yard next? It's just, no. It's like, I want to hate MAGA, but I don't, because I think that we all know that propaganda works, right? So by being like, oh, they're just idiots, it would mean that we're denying that propaganda works successfully. It obviously works successfully. And I actually feel really bad for these people. Yeah, because I can't blame them for blaming Democrats, because, yeah, the Democrats do suck. Like, right. They did fuck up, and they're not great. But I don't really understand where they think that the conservatives are going to fix it, especially someone like Trump. He's a con man. He sounds like a con man. He moves like a con man. He performs like a con man. So I don't understand how. And it's almost like comical to watch, because everything that they blame or say that the Democrats are doing, they end up doing right in front of their face, and they're just like suddenly fine with it every time. It's just so strange. And I think that it's crazy to be like duped to as like a working class person. You are a working class person and you're like, no, I'm going to like prop up billion. Why would I care if you regulate a corporation? Like there are people who have been propagandized to the point where they're like, yeah, regulation bad. But it's like, how do you not see that you will benefit from that though? And not just that, but what you want, like the explosive diarrhea from your fucking unwashed lettuce because it's because of deregulation. The regulations and things like that or like socialism. But I think that they don't understand that this is also a trickle down like that. They think right now the trickle down is like Elon Musk. I don't make any money from Elon Musk. I don't work for Starlink or whatever, SpaceX. I don't understand how his money is trickling down to me, right? But if you do social programs and all of this stuff, which helps many people, I feel like that is a trickle down. Because I don't understand how affordable healthcare isn't trickling down to us. Like that is a trickle down.
Right.
My car not slamming into a pothole is a trickle down because I get to enjoy better infrastructure. You know, like that is a trickle down. Yeah, he's horrible, but he owned the libs and that's all that matters to them. Yes, that is the core of it. Like culture war stuff. And then people completely lose sight of that it is a working class struggle, right? They never talk about policy and like what they actually want to do or anything like that because, well, they're not going to be like, we want to keep your rent high, right? So they just have to like distract you with culture war. It's disgusting. And I mean, this has been going on all through American history. That's why empires suck and imperialism sucks. No one wins from that. Not even the citizens win from that. That's what's crazy about that. Just like a handful of the richest people in the world benefit from that, and that's it. And what I think is just so telling is that like billionaires have every reason to lie to us. That's what I like. People, it frustrates me so much when people bootlick so hard with the billionaires because they have every reason to lie to us and make us think that billionaires are great. Of course they do. They're the ones benefiting. Why wouldn't they lie? What do you think? Do you really think that they're like, no. What we're doing is great. And what are they suffering? It's like, it's just depressing. Like when you know that basically the guy with the bigger stick is just going to like bully people around. Like, what can you do? Like, people need to stand up. Like people in numbers have power. We have great power, and we're just all like too distracted. And you know, like right now, because I know I always see Europeans freaking out. Why are Americans in the street and doing this stuff? And like, it's the truth is it's not bad enough here yet. Like people are surviving, some barely, but I think it's really like the first step is like people need to vote in progressive candidates. And that's why like with the DSA, that's slowly becoming a reality. It's great to see all the wins with the DSA. I'm hoping that will help. You know, I don't necessarily want to go out and fight. You know, I don't want to like take up arms and go and do like a J6 or whatever. And I do think that people are waking up to it. I have like, I'm a pretty big doomer, but I do have hopium that people are waking up. And what you see online is like mostly bots and shit. Because like sometimes I'll like read stuff online and I'm like, we're cooked, aren't we? But I really do think that it seems like it's more than it is. Because half of them are bots. And then of course they're just like the loud people. If they would learn about the past and like what the definitions of what these words mean and all of this stuff, I do think that they reluctantly would change their minds because they are scared of the words. But if they would know more, they'd be less reluctant. They would understand.